Hey guys, this is Nedra from GosuGamers. This is day 2 of the Viagame House Cup. Recording this just before the quarterfinals start. I'm joined here by MYM.Rdu and we are both chased down to the basement because it's super cold outside and we must be extra quiet on every other floor. So we are like king of the nerds, you know, here in the basement where esports usually happens. So man, how are you doing? You're just about to, you're playing quarterfinals like in a few hours. Do you feel confident?
I feel confident, but I'm not happy that I play versus Forsen because he was my practice mate. I practiced with him in the last 3 days a lot. I think more than 10 hours totally, or yeah, something like that. So he knows what I play. I know what he plays. It will be pretty awesome, but there will be no surprises, unfortunately.
Do you feel like, how should I put it? Like, I just talked to you before we came to the basement that it's gonna probably be a rogue fest because you guys are very fond of the class. Are you gonna ban each other? You know, the class?
It depends. I will start as I did before, banning Hunter. That's not a secret anymore. And afterwards, it all depends on what he's going to ban and what he is going to pick. It's really important. I really like this format. This format is so consistent, and the better players went through. Yeah.
Why is everybody still banning Hunter? Like, people actually started to consider it dead, like after the buzzer got destroyed, and I still see it as like a first ban in most of the games here.
Because even though you don't have the buzzer unleash combo anymore, if you just get Undertaker and then 2, 3, 4, you just win the game basically. So I still think Hunter with Snake Traps and maybe Vultures as I run it is still probably the best deck at the moment.
You've been traveling a lot recently and playing like really everything, invitationals, offline tournaments. How is this taking toll on your, because you're still in school, like how is this affecting your actual social life?
It's okay. I don't go to all the tournaments. I still have free time and I still go to school and chill with my friends and stuff like that. So I try to make a balance between it. For example, I will not be able to go to the Tech TV to see story, but I will go to ISF like that next month. Also, I will start streaming if I don't go to tournaments, but I have so much things to do at school at the moment that I cannot go in many tournaments in the next like 1 or 2 weeks.
The past month you were in China twice for WEC and WCA. Well, so many W's and C's in these tournaments. So when you compare those and, you know, looking at China overall, which one did you like best and where did you feel more comfortable playing?
At WCA. WEC was a little bit weird in organizing, even though both tournaments changed the rules in the last day. At WCA we had like a little bit more time to practice and the atmosphere was just better. There were more Westerners and I had whom to practice with. That's the first place where I started practicing with Forsen, and then I practiced with him for Viagame because it worked for WCA. Like, we technically had the best decks for WCA. We played almost the same things, and I think that only because of RNG I didn't win, and he didn't pass the groups.
Yeah, I think he barely missed it by 1 game, I think.
Yeah. One game versus Monk. He had to win 2-0 versus Monk, and he won 2-1, I think, and that cost him.
Do you think he would have been able to go further, like in like top 4 if he had made playoffs?
Yeah, definitely. Like me, we had like 2 decks, the Druid and the Rogue, just for after the groups. And I think we both had a chance to just play the finals between each other if there was not that RNG like Fireball top decks and Force of Nature not appearing in my hand.
They were pretty lucky, like the Chinese guy.
Yeah. I remember that last turn. Actually, it was not the last turn in Druid versus Shaman where I had like Wrath, double Force of Nature, double Keeper of the Grove, double Druid of the Claw, the second Savager, and so many more outs. And I was like, yeah, it happens. This is HearthStone, but it's still a good game. Like, this format at Viagame Cup is awesome. It's probably the best format I've ever played. And it's a really good atmosphere here. We really feel really cool. Like, yeah, it's the best thing.
Yeah, many players actually think this will become the next standard for Western tournaments, like to replace the kind of like 4 decks, 1 ban thing that everybody now uses.
I think this is a really better format, but there's a problem, a downside with this format. It takes a lot of time to play the games because you have to play best of 7s, best of 9s. It can take a lot, but you see the real skill in this format. But it will not be a format that is used in all the tournaments because some tournaments lack time and they just put best of 3, whatever, any decks, no bans. that's how you have to do it because there's so many players. But when you go down to top 8 or top 16, probably this is the best format.
Okay, cool. You said you've been practicing with Forsen for this a lot, which actually surprised me a bit because Forsen, although like is a popular streamer, isn't really known for killing at tournaments. Like he's been playing well, but he still lacks this big tournament win. Like, why did you choose actually him as a practice partner and not like your MYM fellas?
I practiced with MYM too. I practiced with my teammates too, and then I practiced extra with Forsen, and I practiced extra with Impact from Team Coast, and with Luffy from Team Coast. So I practiced a lot before tournaments. That's something that is known. So when my teammates cannot practice anymore, I just go to another practice team guy and I just practice. That's what I do before tournaments.
You mentioned Team Coast guys. They're obviously playing in the North American meta. Are they teaching you something new that you cannot learn from European practice partners?
This is actually what we did with MYM. Me and 1 or 2 teammates from MYM just practiced with the NA guys in some sessions while we are on Skype. And we see the differences between the metas. We compare it. We find the best decks in both metas. We play more control-ish. They play more aggro. And we find out the best decks. And it really helps us changing the meta and seeing how it works.
Okay, so yeah, obviously here is all of good players. Looking at the tournament, like we have quarterfinals today, semis and finals tomorrow. You're considered actually one of the favorites to win it. Like if you could name like any other, let's say 2 players, who do you think like will make the top 3?
It's difficult. So for me and Forsen, both will not be able to go to top 3. So one of us, which is probably, in my opinion, will win the tournament. And the other 2 should be Tides of Time, Colento and Damaz. You pick 2 out of those. They're all equal strength, I think. Like we are actually all of the invited players for this tournament, almost all of us were really good, and we are the best in the world for a reason. Like we showed it, even in this format, we just won and won the group 2-0. Me, Tides, and Colento, I think, right? Yeah.
Yep. You've been actually competing with Colento in our rankings for the top 2 Europe. You're still ahead, I think, by some 30 or 40 points. Yeah, I don't know, like this might change after the interview is up, but yeah. We talked to a lot of players, and many of them actually consider him the perfect player, like with almost no flaws, and he's like a good deck builder. And he's a good deck pilot. Looking at Colento, what do you think about him?
He's a really good deck builder, but I think he makes mistakes. Like I think he makes more mistakes than me sometimes, and just the fact that he didn't come to China is pretty bad for him. So being Ukrainian is not that good. Like, he missed a huge opportunity to get 100k.
Okay.
So...
I mean, he'll get another one, like, in November.
Yeah, but that's different. It's like BlizzCon. Yeah, he gets another one, but...
Just BlizzCon, so...
Why not get both?
Yeah.
I mean... But yeah, he's a really good player, but I think I can beat him. When we played a show match, I lost because of RNG mostly. Well... Yeah, he deserved to win, but he had a lot of RNG in the Shaman games. Like, he made a Shaman comeback 3 games in a row with Shaman, which I don't think will happen now because the meta balanced itself. So there are no like good decks that can beat everything right now. You have to think a lot more about the matchups and stuff like that and how to play the format.
Do you think that traveling to those 2 Chinese tournaments that we mentioned gives you an extra edge in terms of, scouting other players that are unknown to other people? Like, okay, the Chinese are trying something crazy, I should try it and maybe it works.
They just play more YOLO, if I can say like that. They love aggro, so... At this tournament I play Zoo myself because I'm like, if he could win 100k with the Zoo, I can win it. I can win everything with Zoo too. Zoo must work. Let's try it. I was like, I'm not in the mood to play Handlock at the moment. Let's go for some Zoo. And if I had Handlock now, I would probably lose to Aggro Mage. I had nothing versus Aggro Mage. Zoo was my only out. And Zoo is like 70-30 in my opinion to versus Aggro Mage. So it's very good that I had Zoo and not Handlock.
Did Zook gain so much popularity recently? Because like 2 weeks ago it was just handlock if you want to go warlock, but you know, since the NA qualifiers for BlizzCon, we see everybody now bringing Zoo, and it's probably like 50-50 between aggro and control. Like, is it just, you know, Hunter getting nerfed and they don't have to fear like a 5-turn board clear or whatever?
That's one, but the most important is that when all the people started playing handlock, people started developing decks to beat handlock, like the Tempo Storm Rogue and the Aggro Mage. Like, Aggro Mage beats handlock like 90% of the time or something like that. People started playing rush decks that destroy handlock, but they lose to Zoo because they're like glass cannon and Zoo can just outmatch them by just playing more monsters than them. So people were like, oh, why not play Zoo now when everybody plays rush? If I play Zoo, what do I lose to? Handlock is still a decent matchup for Zoo if Zoo manages to get a good board early game and some pressure with some Soul Force, Doomguard, Lepernoms, stuff like that, or even Iron Beak Owls to silence the towns, you can still win. And versus Priest, as we saw in the game of Gnimsh versus Sirocco. Yeah.
3-0 with Zoo, pretty good.
Yeah, even versus Priest. He won versus Priest. So Zoo is pretty good at the moment, I think. He's probably better than Handlock, in my opinion. We'll see. Also, Handlock loses to Shaman. Handlock has a lot of bad matchups, but is more consistent. But now, the new Zoo is probably even more consistent than the Handlock, so I like that, and that's why I play Zoo myself. And you will see some other nasty stuff in my deck lists. I can't wait to show them.
I can't wait to see them. You mentioned like the Handlock versus Shaman matchup, and we were having a discussion with the Tempo Storm guys last night, and I think it was Sides who said that it's a common misconception that people consider Shaman favorite against Handlock, and I think he thinks that Handlock wins against Shaman more often than not.
It depends on the player. If it's a good Handlock player, he will win versus average Shaman player more than 50% of the time. But if you're a good Shaman player, you will win more versus Handlock. If you know it's Handlock and you have things like Lava Burst, Black Knight, Loteb, the Earth Sharks, the Hex, if you just get them, he cannot win. Belcher made that matchup a lot better. And if you have Belcher, Hellfire and stuff like that to clean the board, you can still win. But if Shaman has the better hand, like if both players have good hands, Shaman will win. Of course, Handlock is not like a clear bad matchup, but yeah, I think Handlock can still win, but still Shaman is favored, like 60-40 or 55-45. It's really close, but the player skill varies a lot and I don't know, this matchup is really strange and will be strange for some time.
Okay, let's talk about something that you were unfortunately left out of, BlizzCon. It's... Come on, Blizzard, like, do something. You probably watched both the EU and NA qualifiers, and there were like pretty big difference. Like EU's stayed control, I think, like most of the time, with some exceptions like Renat Sagro and the Fissures Mage. And while, you know, in NA there was a mix between aggro and control. When we talked to Renat, he said that it was the case because NA caught up, like had the time to practice on the new patch and, you know, saw what the good decks are. Do you still think this is the case, or EU still prefers to play more control and this is the style of the region?
EU plays more control, but yeah, they had more time to practice on the new patch and they figured out aggro is just too good at the moment and it's better than control. Like all the control decks lose to Zoo, probably like Paladin and Warrior and stuff like that. So that's why people prefer Zoo, and yeah, they don't want 50 minutes games, they just want to cheese out the win, and if that works out, and...
Why do you call it the cheese? Like, it's a legitimate strategy, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, in Hearthstone. Actually, I think every game has a way to cheese. Okay. That actually works.
Okay, so... many people were surprised to see the actual people that qualified from Europe. I think except Kolendo, who was expected to go through, we saw, you know, good players, but not necessarily known. We had Number Guy from now disbanded Innovation. We had Green Sheep from Dignitas, who aren't really well known as a Hearthstone team, and we had like Kaur, who's a completely no name until up to this point. What do you think of how Europe is represented in the World Finals?
I think they are good represented by Kolento, but I don't think personally that an unknown player will win the BlizzCon. Like somebody that never won another tournament before.
Yeah, they lack too much experience, would you say?
Yeah, experience will matter. There will be a lot of pressure on them, and they will play a little bit worse. For example, we can see this at every cup, where, for example, here we have like 50-50 between invitations and qualifiers. And we can see qualifiers are not doing the best job. Yeah, just 2 players. The pressure is really huge sometimes, and it matters a lot. You need to know how to handle it, and you need to stay chill and just focus on your game. And even then, you can still lose.
Do you think that NA will do better because they're more experienced player? We have StrifeCrow and, Teray is also a good player, although he lacks representation. We have Firebot, who's also a good player. Do you think the region will do better than Europe?
Theoretically, yes, but Europe has Colento, so probably Colento will win BlizzCon, I think. That's what I think, personally.
No chance for the Asians?
If they top deck Fireballs, maybe they will win.
If they play Zoo, maybe like they won 100k once, maybe they can do it again.
Yeah, well, anything can happen in HearthStone. As I said at WCA in the interview after this game, anything can happen. So from that point, nothing will surprise me. I can expect anything happening in Hearthstone.
We talked to Ecop last night, and he said that the only reason you didn't win WCA is because you didn't miss any littles. So, are you planning to miss littles here just to win House Cup?
Nah, I think I can win it even without missing littles.
Okay, that's a new strategy, I guess. So you've been winning a lot, and you're just 17. Do you plan to turn this into a full-time career in the future?
It depends how Hearthstone will develop. If Hearthstone will become bigger, why not? If Hearthstone will just shut down, but I don't think that will happen.
Yeah, I mean...
Unless Blizzard makes some stupid decisions, like the ones of excluding Romania. No salt, of course.
No salt.
Yeah, it's up to Blizzard how they want to develop Hearthstone. If they want it more of an esport or if they want it just a game. I think they want Hearthstone to explode because it's probably their best game at the moment. I think it has more audience than even StarCraft, so...
Yeah, I think it's incomparable. I think the NA qualifiers capped at 110k or something. Yeah,
that's pretty huge. Yeah, the NA qualifiers had a great production. And as you see, there are a lot of tournaments. For example, this House Cup, which are really good. And Hearthstone is a good material for hosting tournaments. Yeah. Hearthstone tournaments are really cool and really exciting. And add to that the house atmosphere, you make the best tournament ever. I
guess this kind of disproves the naysayers who are saying that Hearthstone can't be an esports, and they're a really strong opponent still, that it's just a card game, it's RNG heavy, and etc. And like it doesn't have a place with the big boys like Dota and League and StarCraft.
Well, if you look at Hearthstone and who wins tournaments, you'll see that it's like poker. Like, it's RNG, but...
Yeah, the better guys.
Yeah, the same names. Me, Colento, StrifeCrow, Tides, Amaz in the last meta. Yeah. We just win all the tournaments. And it cannot be a coincidence, right?
Probably not.
Like, even at BlizzCon, they all qualified. Well, Tides was unlucky versus Teray, but... Yeah. So, and I wasn't invited.
Let's say the scene grows, and we get more big tournaments and offline events as well. It's a common thing with other esports players to actually skip school and take 1 or 2 years and devote 100% to the esports. Do you wanna do something like this, or is like too much a sacrifice to just skip school?
It's my last year of school, so
university though.
Yeah, I don't know with university. I think I will. I don't know at the moment actually. I will see what I will do. But at high school, I will definitely not drop out because it's pretty easy for me. I think I'm pretty intelligent. I don't want to sound really narcissistic, but
I mean, if you can win like a few $1,000 while doing geography, I mean that's okay.
Yeah,
I never did it. So.
Like for example, when I played Deck Wars all the night, I stayed up all night and then I just. Slept for like 30 minutes, I don't think I even slept, and just went to school, and then I came back for school, slept 10 hours, I was all fine. I woke up, did my homework, and then slept again and went to school again, because I have school very early in the morning, so it allows me to sleep after school or do whatever I want to.
Okay, man, I think we can bring this to a wrap. It was a really exciting interview. I always love talking to you. Yeah. This was MYM.Rdu. one of my most favorite players. Look for him in Viagame House Cup. He'll be bringing some sick shit apparently.
If I can.
Yeah.